welcome back to ESPC's First-timers Club, and we have got quite an important episode for you today. Today we're going to be covering how to appoint a solicitor. So we're joined by one of ESPC's solicitor estate agent member firms, Keri from Blair Cadell. She is a partner at Blair Cadell and a solicitor herself, so she's going to chat through everything you need to know about initially getting in touch with a solicitor and what they do for you. So without further ado, I'll pass you over to my conversation with Keri. Okay, hi Keri. So today we're here to talk about appointing a solicitor as a first-time buyer and basically what's involved in that. So I think the best place to start would be, why does a first-time buyer need to appoint a solicitor?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the questions probably first-time buyers aren't sure. Why do I need a solicitor straight away?
Yeah.
The answer to that is because you're going to need one eventually. In Scotland, you need to have a solicitor to put in an offer for you. So if you kind of get one at an early stage, then what that allows is to build the relationship before you even put in the offer, which is great. Mm-hmm. Also, you don't know what you don't know. So sometimes it's more helpful to get somebody who's experienced to give you a little bit of guidance. So things like, what are you looking for in home reports? When you're going out to view the property, is there anything you should maybe ask? What would you look out for? Because, for example, first-time buyers maybe wouldn't know that you can only view before your offer's been accepted. Once it's accepted, you can't go back in until the misses are concluded. So we can highlight things like, make sure you have the second viewing and things like that are really helpful. Look again before you put in your offer. And then if there's any questions or things you're not sure about before you put in the offer, should you put in a survey, things like that. We can have a discussion. So at the time you're putting in the offer, you feel ready to do that. And also, by the very nature of finding a property, you usually view on a Saturday and you want to put the offer in on the Monday. So if you know who you're calling first thing on the Monday, that makes it much more easier rather than trying to phone round and find an agent. Because in Edinburgh, in certain areas, the market's still really hot. So speed is of the essence sometimes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so we're saying that it's good to go early, but when should a first-time buyer get in touch? How early can they get in touch?
I think as soon as you're seriously thinking about getting on the property ladder, so probably at the same time you might see your mortgage advisor or go to the bank to see what your affordability is, that kind of early stage. So find out, what is it that I can actually afford? And then speak to, I guess, probably a couple of solicitors, because you probably want to get a few quotes, have a chat with a couple of different agents and see who matches you and who you feel comfortable with. So I think right at the early stage, before you go and view properties, if you can, it's great to engage a solicitor at that point.
I remember when I was buying as well, it was just nice to have somebody to speak to about the property before you go and view it as well, and just get that advice. So if somebody they're at that stage and they're thinking, right, I need to get a solicitor, how would they go about contacting somebody like yourself? Do they send an email? Do they give you a call? What do they say? What's the kind of process there?
It's probably a bit mixed nowadays, because some people prefer to use email, and maybe with work and things, email is just more convenient, or some people still love a good old-fashioned phone call. So either is fine. I think most agents will have clear websites where you can find, the email address. So send in an email. I think actually the ESPC as well allows you to kind of search for agents so you can get an idea of agents in the area. Just send in the email. I'm a first-time buyer, I'm thinking of buying. Could I get somebody to give me a call or email to discuss the next steps? But phoning in is absolutely fine. Most agents will have, somebody ready on the phone to take a call from a first-time buyer.
So another thing that comes up, especially when we speak to first-time buyers at ESPC, is fees. How much it's going to cost. Is the meter going to start running as soon as we pick up the phone to you guys? So what are the costs involved in appointing a solicitor?
That's probably the one variable, because different agents will all charge different fees. But what I would say is you can always get a quote. So that's, again, the kind of shopping around at different agents, see what fits you. You could ask agents for quotes, and most will give you an email version of the quote, so you can see up front what is their fee at the level that you're looking at buying at, and also what the expected outlays are, because the quotes will tell you things like your LBTT, your registration dues, any little fees like your anti-money laundering searches, all of it adds up. So it's good to have an idea in advance. But they should email that before you engage them.
Okay, that's perfect. And things like, so what's kind of documentation might they need for things like anti-money laundering? What does that kind of involve?
Yeah, so usually it's the similar ID kind of things to your mortgage advisor. So it'll be usually a bill, bank statement, council tax bill that has your address on it, and then some form of photograph ID, so driving license, passport. And a lot of agents now, they have these kind of helpful online ones, so you can actually just do it from your home, the kind of scan your face kind of things that you see at banks and things when you get your apps. So it's nothing to be scared of, it's just that kind of simple checks.
No, that sounds good. And so something that we've spoken about prior to recording was just that a lot of first-time buyers can also think that every time they put in an offer, that might also like rack up a bit of a bill with a solicitor. But do you have to pay every time they make an offer, and when do you pay your solicitor?
Yeah, so again, another really common question. I think most agents will not charge to put in offers or no interest in properties. Again, at the time you're getting a quote, good to check, but I think most ESPC agents will be the same, that they won't charge. So effectively you'll only pay for your fees when you're paying like your deposit, so just before settlement. So in and around the week before settlement is the point you'd have to hand over money.
Okay, perfect. And then do you have any advice? So you obviously are working with first-time buyers all the time, I assume. Do you have any advice for how a first-time buyer can choose the right solicitor for them?
I think it's like anything, you kind of get a feel for somebody if you think that you feel comfortable with them, that you match with their kind of personality. Some first-time buyers might be quite detail-minded and they just want the facts. Others will need a bit more hand-holding, for want of a better phrase. They'll want to talk through lots on the phone. So you find an agent that kind of matches you, but I think if you have the initial email conversation, or the telephone is probably better, but you can get it over email too, then you feel who is similar to you and who you feel comfortable talking to. So again, like that's why we really enjoy the first-time buyers, because you get a bit more from first-time buyers because they've not done it before. They come to you for advice, they ask the silly questions, so to speak, but it's never silly because you haven't done it before. So it's actually one of the most rewarding clients that we have, and they really appreciate everything that you do. So most solicitors really enjoy spending time talking to the first-time buyers, giving them the advice, and of course they'll be your future buyers, and sellers hopefully. So it makes sense for solicitors to take time, make sure you build that relationship, because hopefully you'll have it ongoing in the future, and maybe different aspects like their wills, powers of attorney, all these kind of things might come from the one client.
When you appoint a solicitor, there's that expectation that it's going to be hopefully a longer term relationship and you're building that. How long on average would you say that first time buyers you're kind of with them until they put in their offer? What's that timeline like just now?
Yeah, it's a bit funny because some people are really lucky in the market at the moment because it's a wee bit cooler in certain areas. So some people are getting an offer accepted, first time, or maybe they're going for a fixed price property because there's some more on the market. Others, they're looking at the popular areas, 3, 4, 5 offers. But I would think probably about 4 weeks. So usually 4 to 6 weeks is usually the time that you're kind of with them before they've had an offer accepted. But it can be literally you hear from them on the Monday, offers accepted on the Monday. Great.
Oh wow, those are the great stories.
Yeah, sometimes the one where you're going back and forth and you're like, not quite this time, but you were second. And again, I mean, as long as you're putting in the sensible offers, appreciating the market, and solicitors don't mind whenever we have to say, sorry, you weren't successful this time, because we know it's impossible to get an offer accepted first time in some properties because the market's so hot. So we never mind putting in more than one offer. It's never a hassle.
Yeah, and in terms of knowing the right offer to make, how are you guys able to help advise on that?
Yeah, and I suppose that's maybe the benefit of kind of ESPC solicitor firms, because we get a lot of data through from the ESPC of what things have sold for recently in the area. So we use that combined with, what our estate agency offices are feeding to us on what's happening with properties we've got on the market, how quickly are they going. So you put that all together. So you're looking at the area and that particular property and then guiding the client based on what you think the property will go for. Obviously, if there's a closing date, you're thinking that might be quite competitive, depending on the notes of interest. Whereas if you phone up and it's been on a few weeks, no notes of interest, we know from our experience, okay, you could, hopefully you're looking to get this around home report a little bit over. So that's the helpful experience when you've got the estate agency as well as the legal arm.
Yeah, and you mentioned note of interest there. If anyone's watching and they don't know what that is, what is a note of interest?
Yeah, it's one of those things that it's exactly what it says on the tin, but you're not sure what it means. But it literally is, if you're interested in a property and maybe you're not going to go in with an offer straight away, because maybe you're looking at, maybe it's the Monday morning, you've seen something at the weekend you love, but you've got another few properties you're going to see throughout the week, so you don't want to offer on it just yet, but you also want to try and make it known that you're interested, so hopefully they won't accept another offer. So your solicitor literally phones up and says, our client is interested in this property, can you put them of a note of interest? And the benefit of that is hopefully then, if they get other interested parties that phone up or put in offers, they wouldn't just accept an offer that comes in. They would hopefully say to their client, look, you've got an offer, but you've also got other notes of interest, so other interested parties. Why don't we just set a closing date, and then everybody can put their best offer in, say 12 o'clock on a Friday, but at least then you get the chance to hopefully offer.
Perfect. No, well, thank you so much. And if you are looking for a solicitor estate agent to represent you as a first-time buyer, you can search on the agents tab on ESPC.com. Wonderful. So that was my chat with Keri. Thank you so much, Keri, for coming along and chatting to me about such important information for first-time buyers, and hopefully this episode has been a really useful resource in your journey to becoming a first-time buyer. As Keri said in the episode, appointing a solicitor is actually a legal requirement if you want to make an offer in Scotland. So if you are at the stage where you're ready to think about appointing a solicitor, as we mentioned in the episode, you can head to espc.com, click on the agents tab, and you can search for agents in our member directory and hopefully find the solicitor that's going to represent you. In the meantime, I would love it if you could subscribe wherever you're watching or listening. If you're listening on podcasts, please subscribe on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening. And if you're watching us on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. And if you're a subscriber, it just means that you'll be able to see when the next episode drops. And speaking of the next episode, we'll be back next Monday, so I will see you next week. Bye!